that. So the focus was on improving the accuracy and adding any points if I felt that to my already accumulated knowledge.
You must have written a lot of mocks for prelims. So if I ask you, Radhika, how many mocks you have written for prelims?
In my first attempt, I wrote some 70-75 mocks for prelims. Like 6 months before prelims, I started mocks. And every third, fourth day, I used to write a mock. And in my second, because there was paucity of time after interview results, so I wrote some 35 tests after my interview results before my second attempt. So
I would have written a little lesser in my first, around I think 20-22. In my second attempt, I would have done 30 to 35.
So the focus was on quality or quantity, like just multiplying the, okay, I have written this much, tests, or it's like analyzing each and every test and again doing the same test. So what was the reliance on? What was your focus on?
So my idea was that I have to see because there's a lot of elimination that we have to do and attempt certain questions with lesser accuracy. So my focus was that I have to increase my accuracy in those questions, and I did not focus on memorizing everything, but only those portions where I felt that I have done this topic, but there is a new point that they asked in the question, and that can be an addition. So that addition I did, but as such, say if there's a question on some organization or scheme that I did not do earlier, I would not go ahead and making notes of it or memorizing that. So the focus was on improving the accuracy and adding any points if I felt that to my already accumulated knowledge.
The reliance was on quality.
Yes.
very much similar. Like in first attempt, because I scored very less when I gave my first mock test, so my mission at that time was to write as many tests as possible so that I can come to a comfortable score of 100-105. So by 70th test, I was at that stage. So that is the reason I wrote 70 tests in my first attempt. But as you mentioned that I did revise all of those tests, I marked with different colors that these are the questions that I have to revise. So 2-3 revisions of those tests, especially of 30-35 questions of each test, which I made mistakes and where I did not know the information. So I left very trivial information or information that I felt that UPSC will not be asking this, but things that I felt relevant, things that I felt that, okay, these are the mistakes that I should not have made and I made it. So those were the things that I revised. So I did make it a point that I revised those 70 tests. And second time when I wrote, I was already comfortably scoring 80-85 marks in my test. So I had to write 30-35 tests to come to a score of 100-105. So that was the idea, that you have to come to a point where you're comfortable in scoring the cutoff margin. And you also have to revise the test. You cannot just attempt it, take a score and leave it. There is no point in that unless you add value to it, unless you understand the mistakes.
Correct your mistakes, right? So if I quickly ask you, what's your, according to you, what's your level of good attempts? Yes, I consider this much as good attempts out of 100.
I would say 80 plus for sure.
I think yes, though it differs from person to person, but based on my accuracy and what I could gauge of myself, I used to attempt between 80 and 85, not beyond it.
So the range